I don't know what I was about to say. I forgot the first line.
It's not like we've been doing this over 200 times.
You know, sometimes you just get a brain fart. You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Kansas. So, Lauren,
Yes, Kenzie.
let's get scary.
So I saw The Fray this weekend.
Oh, yes. How was that?
It was amazing.
That's good.
Might have cried at one song, but that's okay.
You did, what song?
How to Save a Life.
Oh,
And then it's because, like, at one part, he stopped singing and everyone was just singing. I was like,
that always gives me
this
goosebumps.
is so touching. It was so good. I felt like I was living my childhood,
That's good.
except it wasn't the same lead singer. It was
Yeah.
like their backup, or not their backup, their old guitarist. He like is now the singer and a guitarist.
But you said it still sounded similar?
Yeah,
Like,
it did.
Did their voices sound similar, or is it like a completely different voice? Because I felt like he had a pretty unique voice.
He did have a unique voice. I think it was more the fact I was like, this is the Fray. I'm listening to them.
Sure.
Yeah, it was really good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
And my friend got us like a little perk and we were able to sit in the lounge area
Yeah.
instead of up on the third floor.
Fancy schmancy.
I know. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And we could see like the decibels because like they had the sound, like we were
Oh,
right behind the
yeah.
sound booth.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to watch that because there were times when like he got really into a song and I saw it go like way over 100. I was like, this is so cool.
Did you see them like turn it down or up or anything?
Not that part. The other people were working on their like little screens the whole time. And I
Yeah.
was like,
I
this is
remember
cool.
doing, do you remember in drama, we would have to do the lights and sound for like the other class?
I like never did those.
You didn't?
No. And I was thinking if I had done, I thought this multiple times. If I had done that in high school, maybe that could be me right now. Not something in that direction, Mackenzie. What do you think I'm pointing at? The dog bed?
I don't know. I thought there was something over there.
Figuratively, that is me, like the people doing the sound booth. I'm like talking from my perspective of when I saw the
got
sound
that.
booth.
I got that now.
But that could be me at all of my favorite bands working their sound and lights and stuff.
Don't worry. I didn't really get to do anything except click buttons. All the light stuff was set up and ready to go. I just had to wait for the cue and then
But
do
that's
it.
kind of cool. I never did that.
Yeah. It was a great time. I loved being up in that booth.
Because, yeah, I would work house. So I'd be like the usher. Or, yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I did. If I wasn't in the play, I was like the usher.
Well, we had to do it for class.
Yeah, I never did. I guess for other classes, I was like backstage
You might have been, yeah.
doing that stuff
'Cause I think
instead.
we did it for Fractured Fairy Tales.
Yeah, nope. I
Or
definitely
maybe we
was
did it
not.
for the drama ones.
Maybe.
As drama twos.
But yeah, I definitely wasn't in the booth. I
It
think I
was-
was probably moving sets and stuff.
Oh, I was a menace.
That's not surprising.
Gretchen had to yell at me to shut up. I was talking too much. I was like, I'm in the booth. But apparently, it comes through the Yo.
I can see you like talking shit up there and someone being like, hey.
I wasn't talking shit. It was me and Ashley and Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 people who could not take anything seriously. And I had a great time.
Oh, see, if only that had kept going, you could have also been someone who does sound and lights at one of our favorite bands.
I'm okay. It's always fun to push buttons, but
It would actually be too hard for me because I'd be singing the whole time, and I don't think they'd like that. Except a girl in front of me who was doing something with the sound, she was loving it. She would like be up and down the whole time, and her hands are going, and I think she was singing along.
so yeah, I could do it.
And I was like, oh, you love your job.
I mean, you do it here. You make sure our
I
sound's
do.
okay.
I do.
You're almost there.
I think that could easily translate. If they use GarageBand, I got them.
You're on your way to the pros.
What can I say?
There you go.
Hey, should we jump into Kansas?
Sure.
Before the first shots were fired at Fort Sumter, Kansas was already at war. Following the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, the territory became a violent battleground over the future of slavery. Settlers flooded in from both sides of the debate, pro-slavery Missourians and anti-slavery Northerners, each trying to claim Kansas for their cause. Armed militias formed, towns were burned, and lives were lost. In 1856, abolitionist John Brown led a retaliatory attack known as the Pottawatomie Massacre.
That's what it says on Google.
Okay, in which 5 pro-slavery settlers were executed. This violent era, known as Bleeding Kansas, previewed the horrors of the Civil War and left the region scarred with bloodshed and division.
Though, when I was reading about this, I remember hearing about it like in history class and stuff.
Yeah.
But this is literally, like, there was a mini civil war in Kansas.
Mhm.
Like, there was, like, pro-slavery versus, anti-slavery sides. Like, they had their own capitals, they had their own constitution. Like, it was truly split.
Wow.
And then, obviously, it was mirrored by the bigger Civil War. But Congress originally was just like, "Okay, well, let the people who live there decide."
Mhm.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
People who were in the Missouri side that were more pro-slavery tried to, like, go to Kansas and be like, "I live here. I'm pro-slavery. Let's make it a slavery state." And that's, bleeding Kansas, the violence and all that. And then Congress learned that majority of residents who lived in Kansas were anti-slavery.
Oh.
And because it mattered because it would add 2 more Senate seats, which would then and
Oh.
that's gonna, go one way or another. So it was,
Right.
important. But by the time Kansas became a state, the South seceded.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was like a mini Civil War and then a big Civil War.
Good.
So yeah. Oh, right. On the morning of August 21st, 1863, Confederate guerrilla William Quantrill and around 400 raiders descended on the abolitionist town of Lawrence. They set buildings ablaze and massacred nearly 150 men and boys in a ruthless act of vengeance. Many victims were dragged from their homes and executed in front of their families. The raid was allegedly retaliation for Union raids in Missouri and the collapse of a Confederate prison that killed several female relatives of Quantrill's men. The Lawrence Massacre became one of the bloodiest events of the Civil War on civilian soil and left the town in ashes. Apparently, it's considered the worst mass shooting in Kansas.
Oh.
Yeah.
On a happier note, Lawrence, Kansas is where Supernatural originated. Like, that's where the
Live.
Winchester boys were born. So they go back there every now and then.
Nerd.
That's a great show. It actually seeped into my dreams the other night. We had watched it before we go to bed, which we usually do. We'll watch like an episode or two. And in my dream, I've been having wild dreams. In my dream, we were getting ready to fight somewhere. And so the point of Supernatural is like they'll figure out what's going on and they have to figure out what the thing is and how to beat it. And so in my dream, we had these like things coming at us and we had to figure out what it was to beat it. And so I was like, maybe they're vampires. So I started throwing garlic at them and it would like hit them and singe them. And it's like cloves of garlic. And that worked. And I said, oh my God, they're probably something about vampires. And I was like, we need someone who could just preach things at them because that was going to work. So I asked my husband's uncle and I was like, can you do this for us? And so he was like, I would love to. So he was
Your husband's gay uncle?
no,
Okay.
other uncle.
I would have been like, that's a hell of a choice.
The more religious uncle.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I was like, you preach at them. This is going to
Yes.
weaken them.
Yes.
And then I don't know where it went from there, but then you were in my dream.
Nice. What did I do?
Okay,
Probably
so
nothing.
you, me, and Joe were going to like an amusement park kind of thing, and there was a huge Ferris wheel. I'm talking like hundreds of feet tall Ferris wheel. And I said, I'm not going on that. And I said, you two can go on it because you kind of wanted to go on it. And I said, you two can go and have a great time. And then you said, I actually don't want to go on that. And we looked at Joe and we said, I'm really sorry. And
That's weird.
then that's kind of where that was. But yeah, garlic and preaching saved us from these things.
Okay.
Thanks, Supernatural.
Look at that little rabbit hole we just went down.
Okay. Wichita, Kansas was home to a monster hiding in plain sight. Dennis Rader, known by his self-given moniker BTK for bind, torture, kill, terrorized the city from 1974 to 1991. His crimes were chilling. He broke into homes, tied up his victims, tortured and murdered them, and then vanished without a trace. Rader craved notoriety and taunted authorities through cryptic letters and word puzzles. He killed 10 people, including children, and managed to elude escape for decades. In 2005, his ego led to his downfall when he sent a floppy disk to police containing metadata that traced back to his church computer. He was arrested and sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms. Wichita still remembers the horror of living under BTK's shadow. He, with the floppy disk, he was like, I'll send you this floppy disk if you promise not to look at any of the information about it and
Right.
track it back to me.
So stupid.
And so they did.
right.
And he also took like it was like a 10 or 20 year break in between
Yeah.
that. So he killed
Yeah.
for a couple years and then just was your typical
Mhm.
house dad,
Yep.
with a wife, a kid, lived a normal life, and then went back to killing.
Yep.
Wild.
Crazy.
I don't think we should ever call him BTK. We should just call him Dennis Rader because BTK is too cool of a nickname that he gave himself.
Yeah.
So we'll call him Dennis Rader because that makes him sound like a nerd.
He definitely looks like one.
Absolutely.
In the 1870s, the Bender family ran an unassuming roadside inn at Labette.
Sure.
Okay. In Labette County, Kansas, but behind their hospitality lay a house of horrors. Travelers who checked in often disappeared without a trace. Suspicion grew until local authorities uncovered a mass grave beneath an apple orchard behind the inn. The Benders had been luring guests in, murdering them with a hammer to their head and robbing them. At least 11 bodies were found, though some believe the count was much higher. By the time the crimes were discovered, the Benders had vanished into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Their bloody legacy remains one of the most chilling mysteries of the American frontier. And you can hear more about this family in episode 27 in our first Kansas episode.
Yep. So long ago.
Did we not talk about this?
The Bloody Benders?
No, the Clutter family.
I looked it up. I couldn't find it.
Oh.
But you can check too right now to see if I just couldn't find it. But I did check Clutter and I couldn't find them.
Then we probably did.
On November 15th, 1959, in the quiet town of Holcomb, Kansas, the Clutter family, Herb, Bonnie, and their 2 teenage children, Nancy and Kenyon, were brutally murdered in their home. Would you pronounce Herb or Herb for a name?
Herb.
Herb.
My grandpa's name was Herb.
Okay. Herb.
Because it's Herbert.
Right.
And it's not never mind.
An herb. Okay.
Yeah.
The killers, Richard Dick Hickok and Perry Smith, believed the Clutters kept a safe full of cash. But there was no safe, and the robbery yielded almost nothing. Nonetheless, they tied up the family and executed them one by one. The murder shocked the nation and inspired Truman Capote's groundbreaking true crime novel, In Cold Blood. The case brought intense scrutiny to the death penalty, rural crime, and the criminal justice system.
Maybe I've just heard about it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking I either heard about that before or we've definitely talked about it, but I don't know which one it is.
It was similar. There's a story last week in our Dark History Facts of a similar thing. Like a family was murdered by 2 guys.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it sounds familiar, because this trope has happened before.
But the In Cold Blood sounds extra familiar.
I feel like this is something that's probably well known. And whenever we've Googled Kansas, I'm sure this comes up.
Probably.
That's probably what it is.
Probably.
This next one is kind of fascinating. Topeka, Kansas may seem an unlikely flashpoint for the civil rights movement, but it was home to one of the most pivotal court cases in American history. In 1954, the Supreme Court ruled in Brown v. versus the Board of Education that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional. The case was sparked when Linda Brown, a young Black student, was denied entry to a white elementary school close to her home. While the ruling was historic, the backlash in Kansas and other states was fierce. Resistance to desegregation was widespread, and many schools dragged their feet or outright refused to comply. The legacy of the case is complex. While it struck down separate but equal, it also revealed how deeply racism was embedded in American institutions. She was the Brown in Brown versus Board of Education.
Oh.
Yeah. She
Well,
was
that makes
in 3rd
sense.
grade when that happened.
Wow.
She was 8 years old, and she became a Supreme Court case. Crazy. The 1930s were not a good time for the United States. I just want to throw that out there.
In the 1930s, Kansas was at the epicenter of one of the worst environmental disasters in U.S. history. Decades of aggressive farming had stripped the soil of nutrients, and when drought hit, the earth quite literally turned to dust. Massive dust storms, some towering miles high, swept across the plains, darkening the skies and choking both people and livestock. Families abandoned their farms, livelihoods were lost, and health issues like dust pneumonia became widespread. Entire towns were left desolate. Kansas became a symbol of ecological collapse and human error, and a cautionary tale about the consequences of ignoring the land.
You know who wouldn't have done that?
Tell us, Mackenzie, like we haven't said it multiple times.
Native Americans. Because they lived there for thousands of years before we got there, and I don't think they had a dust bowl. This was the first dust bowl I ever heard about. But we kicked them out and we said, fuck you and your farming techniques, and actions have consequences.
Dust bowl.
But yeah, we were also middle of the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl.
Wars are happening all around us.
By the end of the decade, Hitler comes to power.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even by the middle of the decade. It might not even be the end. 1930s, not a good decade for us.
Hopefully that doesn't follow in the 2030s.
Well, we'll know if by 2029 there's another Wall Street collapse kind of thing and we're in another actual Great Depression, not just a Great Recession, then I think we can probably assume that the 30s are going to suck. Because it was
so much to look forward to.
I'm pretty sure it was the two I don't know if they were considered Republican or not, but more conservative presidents leading up to it. I call them the initial guys, Herbert Hoover and Calvin Coolidge, the CCHH. And I'm almost positive they ran our economy into the ground. And then we got Roosevelt. And the reason why we have all, like, majority of the government things that we have today.
That we had today.
Had. Right. Had. Did you ever have to read? There was a book we had to read. I don't know if we were in middle school or high school, but it was like written in prose and it was about the Dust Bowl. Did you have to read that?
I don't think
It
so.
was like from the perspective of like a daughter and like her family. Her
I'd
mom
have
had
to
died.
see like the cover of the
cover?
book and
Yeah.
maybe, but I don't know. We read so many things.
We had to read that. We had to read a lot of sad shit in school.
Yeah, we did.
Did you ever have to read Fever of 1763 or whatever that was?
Nope.
The yellow fever? You
Nope.
didn't have to read that? It was so creepy. The front, it was like a black and white photo of a little girl and her eyes were yellow because that's what, yellow fever.
Right. Nope. We read like Lord of the Flies.
Oh, we had to read that too.
Life of Pi.
We didn't read that.
Those kind of books.
I feel like that it was like middle school that we maybe read them.
Yeah, that could be because we went to different ones.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't. We went to different elementary schools.
Yes, we did.
I was like picturing the elementary school and I was like, yeah, we went to different ones. No, we met in middle school.
We met in middle school.
In 6th grade. Yeah. Nope.
But I bet you were you in honors English?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't remember.
Because I couldn't read then. So that's why I'm like, maybe it was high school that we read it. I don't know. I just remember having to read them and they were sad.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Oh, Of Mice and Men. We read that one. That one was sad.
I read that one.
Oh, that one ended sad.
I remember 10th grade in my world history class. I forget what her name was. She was kind of weird. But we read they were sad books, but they were really good books. It was like the first time ever that I like actually was fascinated by the story. Like we read The Night by...
Oh, I read that one.
Super sad, but really good. We also read The Red Scarf Girl. It's about the rise of communism in China.
Nope.
That was really good. I can't remember the other ones. We watched Invictus, the one with Nelson Mandela. It's not the actual Nelson Mandela. I'm sure it's like Morgan Freeman or something.
Yeah.
And Matt Damon's in it. It's the rugby team, and it's when Nelson Mandela like is finally freed from jail and becomes president of South Africa and apartheid. And
I don't think I watched that either.
It's a good movie. We also listened to Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire because all the things that he mentions are in the Cold War.
Oh, fun.
And so we like went through the lyrics and like... Anyway, back to other things.
Back to this.
On March 13th, 1990, a monster tornado tore through the small town of Heston, Kansas. The twister reached F5 status, the most powerful on the Fujita scale. I'm sure I didn't say that right. With winds estimated at over 260 miles per hour. Homes, businesses, and entire neighborhoods were obliterated in seconds. Miraculously, only 2 people were killed, but over 60 were injured and hundreds were left homeless. The storm left a path of destruction 48 miles long and nearly a mile wide. For many Kansans?
Kansans?
Kansans? It's not Kansanans. That's okay.
Kansans.
For many Kansans, it was a terrifying reminder that in Tornado Alley, danger can appear in an instant, and nothing, not even a sturdy home, can stand in nature's way. We were watching. There's on HBO. There's like a thing like about storms, and so it's tornadoes. They even do volcanoes.
Natural disasters are so scary.
So scary. Tsunamis, all that kind of good stuff. And I like to watch a couple things before going to bed.
Yeah.
And then I turn on my fall asleep show. And so I had it on. My mom is visiting, so we're sharing my bed. And again, she's doing the, oh my God, every 2 seconds. And I'm like, is this too much? We don't have to watch it. Change it to something else. Are you stressed? You sound stressed. But we were watching the volcano one, and obviously they mentioned Mount St. Helens and that eruption and all that kind of good stuff. The next day, when I was writing my story for this, I was using one of our newspaper things, and it happened to be in May 1980. And the article that I was reading was up above, and then right below it, it was talking about the eruption
Oh
at
my
Mount St. Helens because
gosh.
it happened like May 18th, 19th, something like that.
Oh,
And it was just like,
so
it was so
creepy.
weird. It was
So
so
creepy.
weird. I'm like, oh, we just watched that. And now here I am looking in real time how that was told to people.
Yeah.
Ah, it was weird.
Mom and I were talking the other day about, like, because there was that earthquake that happened off the coast of Russia, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
had, like,
yeah.
the tsunami warnings on the US and, Hawaii
Hawaii.
and stuff,
Yeah.
and I was talking to Mom about, like, natural disasters, and I was like, "I think a tsunami is my biggest fear." Like, I think out of all of them, that's the one I think is the scariest.
For me, it's tornadoes because you have so little warning time.
That is true.
Like tsunamis, you have little warning time.
Mhm, but for a tsunami, if you don't get out of the way, you're gonna die.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're all scary.
Yeah. Volcanoes also are scary because, like, I mean, they're scary because you can't do anything about them.
Pompeii.
Yeah. And tornadoes are always my worst nightmare of being like not being able to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Those are my biggest fear, especially because they always come from thunderstorms and we always get those.
In the 1920s.
Did you know? Sorry. Okay. So everywhere else in the world, except for like, maybe Southeast Asia when they get monsoons and tsunamis and things like that, or like earthquakes and whatnot. I don't hear about any other sort of really natural disasters anywhere else in the world except for here.
Well, yeah, because we're only gonna get news from the US. Again, we're not gonna hear about, like, the tornado that ripped through some other country because we're just not. We're gonna hear about the big ones, but we're not gonna hear about anything else. I'm
But
sure
like I've
other
never heard of
But, yeah, I'm sure other countries don't hear about our random.
the only thing I've heard come from Europe is them bitching about the heat.
Yeah,
And it's only for like 2 weeks.
so I bet they don't hear about our, like, tornadoes and our hurricanes and our tropical storms and all of that stuff
Unless it's like,
unless it's gonna affect them. Just like we aren't gonna hear about anything over there unless it's gonna affect us.
okay, well, because of that, my brain was like, well, it doesn't happen over there. Not true. They can get tornadoes too.
I'm sure.
I was baffled. I'm like, since when?
Yeah,
I didn't even think they could get thunderstorms. Well, okay, that's not true. I did think they could get that. That was not true. But I was like, whoa, like tornado, because they're like, tornadoes can happen anywhere. I'm like, anywhere? Anywhere.
They can even happen over the ocean. That's when you get the water spouts.
Well, that I knew, but I can you imagine a field in Ireland, tornado going through it?
Well, now I can.
It just, I don't know. My brain is like, I haven't heard about it, which means it must not happen.
Oh, yeah. No, you just haven't heard about it because it's not reported here because it doesn't affect us in any way. So, of course, our news isn't going to focus on it.
No,
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
Just like if we have a tornado here, no other country's going to report on it because it's not affecting them at all.
Unless it's like mass casualties or something.
Maybe.
Yeah. Even then, you're right.
Right.
I mean, we hear about some earthquakes though,
Yeah, when it's really, really bad.
but even then, it's like
Right. Exactly.
this happened across the ocean and thousands of people died.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
that makes me a little sad.
Yeah, I know. Media.
Yeah.
In the 1920s, the Walker family of Rice County was found murdered in their farmhouse in what became one of Kansas's most disturbing unsolved cases. Mr. and Miss Walker and their 3 children were all found shot to death in their home. The family had no known enemies, and nothing of value seemed to have been taken. Despite multiple investigations, tips, and even arrests over the years, the murders have remained unsolved. Rumors of bootlegging, family feuds, and revenge killing circulated, but none led to a resolution. The brutal slaying of an entire family still haunts the area's history and leaves behind more questions than answers.
What was the story? I think you did it, where it was like a family like this gets murdered and they don't know who did it, but like I think like the children were found like in their bed or something.
Was there a barn?
I think so,
Yeah, I can't remember which one that is, but yeah.
but it's obviously not this one.
No. It's just kind of scary how many things are like, oh, remember that other story that was this exact same thing?
And that's why I'm like, oh, we must have talked about this. That's why I texted you. I was like, hey, can you go in and put, because I
Yeah.
thought there was multiple ones.
Nope.
But I'm like, now that I'm thinking, I was like, it's just the same
Kind of story.
story happening over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Now we have something that we could maybe talk about next time for Kansas.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely think we've also talked about this tornado in a different state before.
Oh, I mean, yeah. There have been like F5 tornadoes that we've definitely talked about when we're in Tornado Alley.
Apparently, with tornadoes, I'm sure everyone in Kansas is like, we know this. um, there's like, you have like the like North Midwest and then the South
Mhm.
Midwest kind of thing. They have like certain times of year they get tornadoes, but there's one chunk, which is like Kansas, part of Kentucky, kind of right around there,
Okay.
that tornadoes all year round.
Ugh, I hate that.
Hate that.
Yeah, I hate that.
I feel like I can't. Part of the reason I feel like I can't move is because I'm like, it's going to have something that I don't want. Like, I can't move to California. It's got the earthquakes. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I would not do well.
And the tsunami warnings.
And tsunami warnings. My mom is up here for a month because I'm afraid that there's going to be a hurricane soon. And I just want her up here
Instead of Florida.
instead of Florida.
Yeah.
Nature is scary.
All right, Mackenzie, what tale do you have?
So, in addition to unsolved cases, I also find cold cases very interesting.
Oh, yes, yes.
Being able to look at what was done the first time around and what was done differently the second time around. That aha thing. Like, this is the thing that broke the case, you didn't notice it this time or whatever.
It broke the case wide open.
Right. Like, you go back and we look at interviews and you realize something was missed. Like, oh, they missed this little tiny detail.
Yeah, that's actually so cool.
Like, it's so fascinating. The story of Mary Robin Walter is said to be Kansas's oldest cold case and was recently solved a couple years ago. Mary Robin Walter and her husband Douglas had been living in Great Bend, Kansas for 4 years by January of 1980. They spent time in Kingman, where they both grew up, for a couple years after they got married in 1974. Douglas wanted to pursue a career in life insurance sales, but decided to take a job at a service station with his uncle. The couple had a daughter named Pamela, who was 5 years old. Mary was in her second semester of nursing school at Barton County Community College. Mary was working at a local hospital doing various nursing roles, from taking care of the elderly to helping deliver babies. Mary was a bubbly person who never met someone she didn't like.
Those are two drastically different things. Some people are leaving this world, and some people are entering it. Nursing home and babies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that thought just popped in my head. I was like, that's wild.
I mean, she's not like a nurse yet, so I think she just helps out everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pop's where she needs to be.
Douglas told Daryl Moreau from the Wichita Eagle, quote, "She was very bubbly, very happy person. She likes people." On January 24th, 1980, Mary Robin left her home with her daughter, Pamela. So she either dropped her off at school, or she dropped her off at a babysitter, or she dropped her off at school and the babysitter picked her up.
Okay.
I don't know.
Something.
She maybe was dropped off with her babysitter. Another one said she was dropped off for kindergarten at Riley School in Great Bend. There was a couple that said babysitter, so I'm making the assumption she dropped her off at school and was going to get picked up by the babysitter.
Okay.
Something like that. Regardless, on her way home, she stopped at the service station where her husband worked to give him a checkbook.
And is this when the daughter
was already dropped off.
Okay.
On her way home, Mary stopped at the service station her husband worked at.
Okay.
Yeah. Mary returned home sometime between 9 and 9:30 to get ready for her 1 p.m. class at the community college. So from what I gathered, Mary was supposed to pick up Pamela from the babysitter after her class ended at 3 p.m., but never showed. I could not find any reports that explained if the sitter did anything, if it was like so unusual, if she starts calling her and she's not answering,
Right.
That kind of thing. It didn't mention that.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was one of those things of like she's been late before, or like it wasn't, I don't know.
Mhm.
But there wasn't anything that kind of mentioned it. But Mary's husband, Walter, did not return home until 6:40 p.m. that evening. Walter returned home with a friend and made a gruesome discovery of his wife, face up in their bed with multiple gunshot wounds. Walter immediately began to panic and was worried about the whereabouts of his daughter. After he confirmed she was still with the babysitter, he called 911. See, that's the part where I'm like, if she couldn't get a hold of Mary, wouldn't she have called the husband?
You
And it
would
didn't seem
think.
like she did that.
But maybe she didn't have the husband's number.
That's true. Like I said, I don't know what
Because our dog sitter technically doesn't have my number.
Yeah.
Like, I have hers, but she doesn't have mine.
Yeah.
She has
It
my
was also
husband's.
1980. There were no cell phones.
Oh.
Duh.
Yeah.
Facepalm. Fucking idiot. So, of course he couldn't call her. So stupid. Supposedly, he was so distraught and incoherent that his friend, Randy Jacobs, had to do the talking to the operator. Naturally, when police began their investigation, they looked to Mary's husband as their first possible suspect. One officer told Douglas, quote, "If you did it, Doug, you better tell us because we'll find out." Doug told authorities he had left for work a little bit before 8 a.m. I don't know the exact time. And he told them about Mary showing up a little bit before 9 o'clock at the service station to give him the checkbook.
Okay. Yep. Makes sense.
But she really stayed for like 2 seconds. It was not a long thing. After work, he said he tried to call home to tell his wife he was going with a buddy to a VFW club. I Googled what that was. It's a Veterans of Foreign Wars post.
Oh, yeah.
And the VFW has posts all around the United States to help support veterans and their families.
I had to look that up too. Maybe I was looking at cases to find for Kansas and I saw VFW in so many different stories and I was like, what is this? And yeah, I looked it up too. Okay.
It's a really good thing I did because the first article that I read about this case just said a private club. And I was like, this motherfucker did not go to a strip club
Yeah.
and then come home and find his wife dead. That is insane.
Okay.
And then in the next one, it was like VFW. And I was like, well, what the fuck is that?
Yep. There we go. Yep.
Makes a lot more sense.
Way better.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah. It was determined that Mary was shot at least 12 times in the neck, chest, abdomen, and arm.
Oh my gosh.
The murder weapon was a small caliber pistol that had been found near the body, and police later determined that the gun did belong to the Walters.
And do they live in like a house, like a standalone house, or do they live in a townhouse? An apartment?
A mobile home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which we get to later.
Okay.
There was no evidence of a struggle, sexual assault, robbery, or forced entry into the house. Money was found in her purse, and the money on the kitchen table wasn't taken either. The murder occurred sometime between 10:30, or 12 to 1 o'clock, sometime in that window.
So she never made it to her class either.
Correct. She never
Okay.
made it to her class. Mary was found in her bathrobe with her rings off, and police determined she either had been preparing to bathe or had already done so at the time of the shooting. Neighbors reported that they didn't see or hear anything unusual, but the Walters did live in a mobile home near the entrance to Great Bend Airport. They also lived close to a highway, and investigators believe that the loud noises from these places would have made it difficult for neighbors to hear anything.
That makes sense.
Even though it was an unusually warm day, it was like 60 degrees in
Ugh.
January.
Beautiful.
Many people and many people had their windows open. Mary had kept the windows closed. Apparently she got cold easily.
I get it.
Doug later said, quote, "We never locked the door. We left the keys in the car. Now that I think about it, it was stupid, but we never had any cause for alarm before." Police had confirmed Doug's story and began looking into other possible suspects. So Doug was at work.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do it. From what others said, the couple was happy and wasn't having major problems in their relationship. Mary's mother, Mrs. Matthews, who still lived in Kingman, said, quote, "I talked to her on the phone Monday and Tuesday of that week, and there was no indication of any problems." It wasn't long before police began running out of leads. The Barton County Sheriff's Office was getting help from the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, or KBI, which conducted interviews and performed forensic examinations of all the physical evidence. They dusted the home for fingerprints, and police wouldn't say whose prints, if any, were found on the murder weapon. Authorities also determined that the weapon would have had to have been reloaded at least once during the murder.
And was it reported, like, when it went out to the public that it was a gun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're going to get to that too. By May of 1980, 4 months after Mary was murdered, police still had not made an arrest. Police had compiled all the information on the Walter case and sent it to the FBI in Quantico, Virginia. The FBI was expected to analyze the information and provide a profile of the killer and suggestions for further investigation.
My dream job.
I couldn't find anything.
Wow.
I don't know what the profile was. A lot of information about the case was released to the media at the beginning of the investigation. So everything I've told you is because it was all in the media. In May, Sheriff Gene Marks told the Hutchinson News that all the information disclosed had hindered the investigation, meaning May of 1980, not this past May.
Yes.
Just want to make sure people know. They had a person of interest who knew the exact number of times she had been shot, which police believed was withheld from the public.
Okay.
They had hoped to use the information to identify a single person who knew what went on at the scene of the crime.
Right. That's what I was wondering about, like what they had released and what they hadn't.
Too much, apparently.
Yeah.
Investigators quickly learned that a television news reporter had reported the correct number of shots. Something that also caused major roadblocks was a lack of motive. Mary's husband said, quote, "She was friendly. I don't know anybody who would dislike her." Mary's mother told reporters, quote, "She was always smiling. She wasn't the type that made people mad. We just can't figure out why, just who and why would anyone want to do this thing." And then sadly, the case went cold for the next 44 years.
Oh my gosh. I also never understand why people will like confess to something they didn't do.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like,
But
I don't get it.
There was majority of the article that I found for May of 1980 was about the sheriff and the undersheriff just talking with the reporter of like, because they also talked to the husband and he's like, I'm frustrated. I feel like things are stalled. I'm not getting answers.
Right.
Apparently he had a theory about who it was, but he didn't say who he thought. Like he didn't want to name names, I guess, until he was sure.
Oh my God, I'd be naming all the names I could possibly think of.
Right. But he
Look into this person, look into this person. Also, what about this person?
he just didn't want to tell the news.
I get that,
Yeah.
but I'd tell the cops.
I don't know if he did or not.
Okay.
And so he was frustrated. And so you kind of get that point of view from the article, and then you get the police point of view. And they're talking about how because so much was disclosed to the public right at the beginning, anything else that they had, they're like, we're not telling you.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying if we could, show the thousands of people we've interviewed and all the things that we're doing, we would.
Right.
But we can't. And so it's definitely one of those things of like, trust the system.
Yeah.
But no robbery, no sexual assault, no forced entry. She was just shot and killed.
Yeah, that's so weird.
And if she's just known as a lovely person, it's going to be hard to find somebody.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a motive.
Right.
Everything seemed fine in the marriage. It didn't seem like anyone was having an affair.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I didn't hear about any conflicts with anybody else. Obviously, they talked to their neighbors. I don't know, but it went cold.
I mean, I can kind of see why.
Yeah. So I will be honest, even though this case is solved, there are many questions that go unanswered. There is no trial, and unless they make a documentary about it, we don't get any more information filled in that they withheld back in 1980.
Yeah.
So everything that I mentioned, prints, all that.
So what we have is that's all we have.
That's all we have. In 2002, a detective persuaded Barton County Sheriff Brian Belender to reopen the case and use technology and techniques that weren't available at the time. The new evidence pointed to Stephen L. Hanks, who was 25 at the time and had been a suspect early on. See, that's the stuff I want to know. What do you mean he'd been a suspect early on?
Right, why?
What did he say? Was he the one that said the 12 shots?
Yeah.
I don't know. Did the husband think it was Steve too? Because he had people he suspected.
Right.
We don't know. Authorities charged Hanks with the murder of Mary Robin Walters in 2002 after Hanks admitted to killing her. In August of 2004, Hanks, who was then 70, took a plea agreement for second-degree murder and took a plea deal that sentenced him to not less than 10 years, but not more than 25 years.
That doesn't seem long.
He's 70.
Yeah, but still.
He's probably going to die within that time.
Yeah, but still. It's the whole fact of like, when you give people 10 life sentences.
I didn't understand the second-degree murder part. Because doesn't second-degree murder mean
not planned?
Right, it's not planned. Like, it's like you got in a heated argument.
I mean, it could be because there was no robbery or anything. Like, maybe because they couldn't come up with a motive, they couldn't do first degree.
Okay.
So it had to be second degree.
Okay.
I mean, again, I don't know.
Right.
But,
no, but I mean, that's a good thought. It had been more than 44 years after Mary was killed that authorities were finally able to make an arrest. The last time the case was investigated was in 1982. Jeez. Belender said in a statement, quote, "It bothers me that many of the people who were so affected by this tragic crime have since passed away prior to bringing the suspect to justice. I consider myself fortunate that I had the resources and the diligent personnel to close this case."
And wait, did this all happen in 2002 and 2004, 2022 and 2024?
2022 and 2024.
Oh, okay. I think you said 2004.
My bad. I do that a lot. I apologize.
Because you said 40 years, and I was like, wait, the math's not right.
Yes. And I also said at the beginning it was solved a couple years ago.
Okay, so 2022 was the first bit of everything, and then the conviction and stuff came in 24.
My bad.
Okay.
Yes. Recently. 2020s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The credit for solving this homicide goes to the dedicated officers that had the tenacity to bring it to a conviction. Sergeant Detective Adam Hales and Lieutenant Dave Patton re-interviewed Hanks, a neighbor of Walter at the time, and a previous suspect. Belender also told the media, quote, "In mid-2002, I was approached by Detective Sergeant Adam Hales to reopen the case using new techniques and technology that were now available at the time of the murder. In all honesty, it was with some degree of skepticism that I authorized the expenditure of manpower and resources." He goes on to explain, "The first order of business was to consolidate the hundreds of documents accumulated over 40 years into an organized case file. Many interviews had been conducted decades apart, and some documents were missing. The evidence was re-examined and submitted for testing, including DNA, although no DNA was found. It is still unclear what led detectives to Steve Hanks, but an affidavit was presented to the Barton County District Court and an arrest was issued. Hanks was arrested on December 8th, 2022, and charged with second-degree murder. Hanks spent some time in prison for another crime. He was arrested in 1981 and charged with rape, battery, robbery, and burglary.
Huh.
He was sentenced in 1983 and discharged in 1993, according to the Kansas Department of Corrections. The statements from the sheriff and the attorney general's office and online court records don't say whether Hanks ever revealed his motive for killing Walter. We don't know how they got to him,
Why they went to him?
why they went to him. We don't know what happened. We have no idea what happened except for that she was shot.
Huh.
In conclusion, we may never know the motive behind the heinous murder, but at least justice was finally served in the murder of Mary Robin Walter.
Wow, 44 or 40 what years later?
Yeah, 44 years. It was considered the oldest cold case in Kansas.
That has a fun ring to it.
Cold
The
case
oldest
in
cold
Kansas?
case in Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by it kind of being like a little letdown.
Yeah, like
Like, it's great that it was solved. That's not the letdown part.
have
The
so
letdown part
many
is that we don't
questions.
know what happened.
I want to know the nitty-gritty details.
Yeah,
How did you get to this guy? Why
exactly.
couldn't you make the arrest before? Who was he? Why was he going in there just because, like, I can't fathom that this neighbor of theirs just walked in.
Shot her and left.
Right.
Yeah.
12 times? You have to reload.
Yeah, you have to, like, have thought of what you did. You had to shoot, reload, and as you're reloading, know what you're doing it for, and then go again.
Right. That says anger to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was mentally ill and didn't know what he was doing.
And it's kind
Doesn't
of wild,
sound like
too,
it since he's going to regular jail.
that he's already, like, he's been convicted, everything, the case is done.
Mhm.
But we still don't know anything else.
Nope.
Hmm.
We don't know nothing. And pretty much the only reason they got a confession, or not a confession, a conviction, was because he confessed.
Right.
Did he confess? Did he confess and they made it second degree? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, nice telling, but,
Thanks.
I wish we knew more.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know why. I feel like that's always the hardest
Yeah.
when you don't know why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like, even then, I can't say, oh, he was just an evil person.
Right.
I'm like, there's more to it than that.
I mean, he obviously was.
Correct.
But
Yes. There's obviously something wrong if, like, that's what you resort to.
yeah.
But, like, was Mary having an affair with Steve?
Mm-hmm.
And she wouldn't leave her husband. And he got mad.
Who knows?
I don't know. Did Mary did Mary know something and was going to tell people that Hanks did? And he had to kill her to silence her. I don't know.
I don't know.
Because he was around her age. She was like 23 when she died.
Oh my God, so young.
Yeah. And he was 25 at the time. Yeah.
Well,
Did he go to just attack her and killed her instead so she wouldn't tell anybody?
no. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
I know. We don't know.
We don't know. And we will never know.
Not unless they make a documentary.
Right, not unless they make a documentary.
So if they do that, then we might know.
I know, we'll give an update, but until that day
Yeah.
comes.
So, like I said, at least it solves. I will
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes we hear about unsolved cases where it's like you feel like you have everything in front of you, and you know
Right.
who it is, and you can't do anything.
Right.
So at least this is solved. Although I always think about the fact that, like, he still got to live 44. Well, I guess he did spend 10 years in prison.
Well,
He got to spend a good solid 20
yeah,
free.
for something that supposedly he did.
Right. And she didn't get a chance to do that and see her daughter grow up. Oh, yeah, they didn't mention daughter. They didn't mention husband. I don't know if he's still alive.
That's so weird. Like, so
I don't
weird that there's so
know.
little.
I don't know if maybe she changed her name because she didn't want to be found.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They didn't say anything about how the family felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, nice covering.
thanks. What's spooky tea you pulling, Lauren?
I have another urban legend.
Hmm.
Urban legends. Well, last week was cryptids. This is urban legends.
Isn't this like a hamburger monster? Did I read that correctly?
I'll get to it.
Okay.
Let's save this prize. Hutchinson is a large city in Reno County. Each year, Hutch, as the locals call it, hosts the Kansas State Fair and the National Junior College Athletic Association men's basketball tournament.
Okay.
But in the 50s, Hutchinson was being terrorized by a half-ghost, half-monster. It is said that this monster roamed around the sandhills north of Hutchinson at night. He would look for teenagers on a lover's lane, smooching, or even people just out hiking.
Smooching.
He would take these people and chop them up for hamburger meat.
Ew.
The man was known as the Hamburger Man. maybe due to the fact that he was disfigured after an accident or because of his turning people into hamburgers. He also has
Both
a
can be true.
he also has a hook for a hand. He was shunned by society, so he fled to the sandhills, where he built a home to live out the rest of his life. Anyone who travels down this route, the route towards his hideaway, trying to sneak a peek at him or just out after dark, may encounter the Hamburger Man. According to legend, those unlucky enough to encounter the Hamburger Man will see a mysterious person wearing torn attire. He is also wearing an apron that is smeared with blood. His face is usually hidden at first by shadows or a filthy hood. In his skeletal hands, he holds out a platter of freshly cooked hamburgers, with the meat being from the remains of his unlucky victims. There have been a few unlucky, or maybe lucky people, who have had an encounter with the Hamburger Man and made it out to tell the tale. Witnesses describe a feeling of fear and anxiety when they see the man's apparition. Duh. Some who have seen him standing strangely still by the side of the road. Others have claimed to see him appear in their rearview mirror just to disappear. Where the Hamburger Man legend starts is widely debated.
I can't picture anything but the Hamburglar right now.
When I typed in a Hamburger Man, so many pictures of
Like,
him.
that's all I'm imagining. Like a giant version of him.
With like blood on his apron or the
Yeah,
front of
but like
him.
the hat and like the
the
stripes.
thing,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
the mask.
Mm-hmm.
Some people believe it was a tale used as a cautionary warning to alert visitors to the perils of traveling through lonely places at night. Some think that maybe it was used specifically to add excitement and mystery to the local culture of Kansas,
I'm gonna go with the second one.
adding like a fun little,
Yeah. What are you gonna do in Hutchinson, Kansas?
you're going to go to the Kansas State Fair or go to the National Junior College Athletic Association men's basketball tournament.
But that was only once a year. They had to fill their time with something else.
So they chose the Hamburger Man.
Mhm.
And that is all I have for you for the Hamburger Man.
Okay.
So I added another guy.
Okay.
This is the Smiling Man of Wichita.
Weird names.
I know. Well, they're urban legends, so of course they're going to be weird.
Right.
So there have been many stories of smiling men in history. One big one is Indrid Cold, but I'm not going to talk about him today because he's in West Virginia.
Hmm.
And I could find no connection to Kansas.
Okay.
So I will
Or
talk
the
about
smiley face killer.
not the same men.
I know it's not the same man.
Oh, yeah.
I thought we were just listing smiley.
Oh,
face
smiley
people.
face things?
Yeah.
So the smiley face killers were killers.
Yeah.
This guy is just a creepy urban legend in Kansas.
And is the other one a creepy urban legend of West Virginia, or is he a real person?
I didn't look that deep into it
Okay.
because maybe we could use it for West Virginia.
Okay.
And also because I didn't want to spend all my time reading about someone I wasn't going to cover.
Fair.
So, you know. But so there is the Smiling Man of Wichita, who I will be talking about this morning, today, this evening, tonight, whenever you listen. So I have heard of the Smiling Man before. Here is the main story of it, though, kind of the first story I heard, posted on Reddit 4 years ago by blue_title on the Let's Not Meet thread. So the Let's Not Meet thread is different from the No Sleep thread. So the No Sleep thread is where you would post like a scary story that's not true. So like a creepypasta, something like that.
Mhm.
The Let's Not Meet is an actual encounter that you have had with someone who you don't want to meet again. So these are supposedly 100% true.
Okay.
And so our blue title guy said that this is 100% true.
Okay.
So his story goes, quote, about 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the US. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking.
Like, such a man thing to do.
Feeling safe to walk at night.
Mhm.
Have you heard that thing? I'm sure you have, where it's like, if men were gone for one night, what would you do?
Walk
and
outside.
everyone was like, walk outside at night.
Yeah.
I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had a reason to
Oh my
feel
God,
afraid.
he's the smiley face man. He just doesn't know it.
I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite, but all of that changed in just a few minutes on one evening. It was Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment.
I think this guy's an insomniac, that he should probably get that checked out.
I know, like,
This is not good.
sure, it's normal to walk, but like 1 to 2 in the morning? Mm. Like, that's not, when I wake up at 2 in the morning, I go pee and then I go back to bed. I don't think, let me go on a walk.
Yeah, that's why he's actually the smiling man. Kind of like how in SpongeBob, when he was the hall monitor, he was the monster. He didn't know.
So it was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. At the end of the street, on my side, was the silhouette of a man dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each balk with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, heading straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass me by. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky and wearing an old suit. He danced closer still until I could make out his face. His eyes were open wide and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile.
Ugh.
Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer.
Ah!
I took my eyes off of him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back and I stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me.
Oh!
He was facing me but still looking skyward.
No!
Smile still wide on his lips. I was
Nope.
completely and utterly unnerved by this.
I don't like this story.
I knew you would hate this guy.
I don't like this at all.
I started walking again but kept my eyes on the man. He didn't move. Once I had put about a half a block between us, I turned away from him for one moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he was standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt relieved.
I thought he was going to be right behind.
Until I noticed him.
Okay.
He had crossed the street and was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, but it was clear he had moved fast. I was so shocked I stood there for some time staring at him, and then he started moving towards me again.
No.
He took giant, exaggerated, tiptoed steps as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone, except he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point I ran away or pulled out my pepper spray or my cell phone or anything at all, but I didn't. I just stood there completely frozen as the smiling man crept toward me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling a smile, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to my mind. What I meant to ask was, "What the fuck do you want?" in an angry, commanding tone. What came out was a whimpering, "What the fuck?" Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to it at all. He just stood there, smiling.
Yeah.
And then after what felt like forever, he turned around very slowly and started dance walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. And then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way,
What?
and this time he was running.
What? No. No. No.
I ran too. I ran until I was off of the side street and back into a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of the way home, I kept glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile, but he was never there.
This can't be real. This cannot be real.
I lived in the city for 6 months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk, he didn't look high, he looked completely and utterly insane, and that's a very, very scary thing to see. So,
I don't like it.
in the comments, people were like, "Dude, I thought this was going to be on No Sleep, and I looked and it's on Let's Not Meet. How is this real?" And the guy was like, "I promise you, this is 100% real." So the smiling man
No, we
is
don't need to talk about it anymore.
is said to be a tall, lanky figure who is usually seen at night on the quiet streets and sidewalks of Wichita, Kansas. He's always dressed nicely in a suit or other formal-looking outfit, and he always has a smile on his face. A smile that is unnaturally wide, stretching way too far across his face, showing way too many teeth.
Ah.
Some have thought it's too outrageous to be real and that it must be painted on, but it is indeed real. The smile appears to be frozen, it never fades and never gets smaller. And the man, he doesn't just walk along the streets with this smile. He moves in a slow, jerky fashion with sudden bursts of erratic behavior. Sometimes that erratic behavior is dancing. Not many people have heard him talk, but those who have say that his voice is low and gravelly and immediately sends chills down your spine. Those who have experiences with him usually noticed him while they were walking home alone. They also notice a figure just a few steps behind them. When they look back, the smiling man is there, just smiling. When they pick up their pace or even run, the smiling man does too, able to keep pace with ease. Like this story.
Oh my God.
Quote, "A young woman named Emily was walking home late from a friend's house in Wichita. It was around midnight and the streets were quiet. As she turned onto a dimly lit sidewalk, she noticed a tall man in a dark suit standing under a
I
streetlight.
want to plug my ears.
She glanced at him and froze. You're not allowed to. His smile was impossibly wide, showing way too many teeth, and his eyes seemed dark and hollow. Emily tried to ignore him and quickened her pace. The man started walking too, but not directly after her, more like keeping pace a few steps behind, always with that unnerving grin. After a few blocks, she broke into a run, and so did he. When she reached her house and slammed the door shut, she peeked out the window, but he was gone, like he'd melted into the night." And this one. Quote, another account comes from a man named David, who was jogging early one morning just before dawn. Again, things that only men do. As he rounded a corner, he saw the smiling man standing at the edge of the sidewalk. David said the smile was like something out of a nightmare, too wide and just wrong. David stopped for a moment, thinking maybe it was a prankster. But when he started running again, the smiling man suddenly began jogging after him, keeping pace effortlessly and never breaking that terrifying grin. David said he sprinted until he got to a busy street with other people, and the figure vanished without a trace. Others who have seen him report a feeling of intense creeping dread, as if something is terribly off when seeing him. And the longer
Well,
you...
yeah, it is. You can best believe no good things when that guy's around.
And the longer you look at the smile, quote, the more it feels like he's not just smiling at you, but something dark inside of you. And then there's this story.
No!
Quote, a truck driver named Mike was parked at a rest stop at the outskirt of Wichita during the middle of the night. As he stepped out to stretch, he saw the smiling man standing near the road, perfectly still watching the highway. Mike said he felt an overwhelming sense of dread and hurried back inside his truck. When he looked out again a few minutes later, the figure was gone. He later heard that other drivers reported similar sightings at the same rest stop. And then another common thing is that right in front of the person's eyes, the man will just disappear. But who is he? Where did the smiling man come from?
I don't care.
Some believe he is a ghost or demon who preys on people who are alone and vulnerable.
But he hasn't ever done anything. Just freaked them out.
Just very creepy. Some believe he is nothing more than just a normal person with a mental illness or a serial predator who tries to lure victims in with his smile. And there are some who think he is a manifestation of fear itself, a boogeyman that was created to explain those weird and creepy feelings that you get when walking alone at night. So to end this,
That's why you don't fucking walk at home at night. I swear to God.
I have a scary story
No!
to end us on,
Have you two already done enough?
courtesy of ChatGPT.
Haven't you already done enough?
This is called The Smiling Man of Wichita.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren and Kenzie had been friends since childhood, bonded by their love
Not
of
anymore.
late-night
Friendship is
adventures,
about to end.
exploring the quiet streets of their hometown, Wichita, which, when we were younger, 100% what we did.
Not Wichita.
Not Wichita, but walking around the quiet streets of our neighborhood. One warm summer night, they decided to take a walk after a local concert, laughing and chatting as they made their way through the dimly lit neighborhood. And we go to see concerts together. Oh, how fitting. As they turned onto an unfamiliar street, the air suddenly felt colder. The usual hum of crickets and distant cars seemed to hush, and an oppressive stillness settled over the block. Lauren glanced around nervously. Do you feel that? She whispered. Kenzie nodded but tried to brush it off. Probably just your imagination.
Yeah, like I'm the one saying that.
That's when they saw him.
No!
Standing beneath a flickering streetlight was a figure, impossibly tall, thin, dressed in a dark suit. But what caught their attention most was his smile. It stretched far beyond what any human smile should, lips pulled wide, teeth gleaming unnaturally. His eyes were black pits that didn't blink, fixed on the two girls. Lauren's breath hitched. Run, she hissed. But Kenzie was frozen in place. Eyes locked on the smiling man as he began to move. Not walk, but glide forward, with a jerky, unnatural rhythm that made their skin crawl. The smile never faltered. Hey, Lauren shouted, grabbing Kenzie's arm. Come on, now.
See, I already know the story isn't true because you already said that you only see him when you're alone. So, fake news.
Well, we would technically be alone. We're together, but we're alone.
No.
They sprinted down the street, heartbeats pounding, but no matter how fast they ran, they could hear slow, shuffling footsteps behind them. The smiling man. Keeping pace without effort. Every so often, he let out a low, chilling laugh that echoed in the empty night.
No!
Turning a corner, they darted into a small alley and hid behind a dumpster, gasping
Why
for air.
are we hiding and going into the dumbest places?
I know, a dark alley at night.
And to a dumpster?
No.
I don't think so.
The footsteps stopped just inches from where they crouched. Lauren peeked out and saw the smiling man's faces inches from the wall, still grinning, staring directly at them as if he knew every secret they'd ever had. Suddenly, his head twisted unnaturally to look behind him, even though no one was there. Then, with a sharp, terrifying smile wider than before, he vanished into the darkness. Lauren and Kenzie didn't stop running until they were back on the main road, surrounded by lights and people, but the terror didn't leave them. For weeks after, they both swore they'd see that smile out of the corner of their eyes, whether in shadows at night or lurking in crowds during the day. And sometimes, when the streetlights flickered just right, they heard that low, gravelly laugh, reminding them the smiling man of Wichita was still out there, waiting.
I don't like it.
He's so creepy. And when you have to see the pictures that I'm adding for this episode, it's really unsettling.
That was awful.
Yeah, it's not great.
Worst experience of my life.
So yeah, we have the Hamburger Man and the Smiling Man of Kansas. So maybe Kansas is not a place we go, especially not Wichita streets at night.
Well, no streets at night.
No streets at night, but especially Wichita streets.
Sure. I'm not going to Kansas anyway because I'm that terrified of a tornado. I'm never going to Kansas. I'm sorry, Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an F5 tornado, we don't really need to be there.
I just don't want to risk it. It seems like a place that tornadoes happen a lot.
Well, when are tornado seasons? Because we just go when it's not tornado season.
That's what I was saying. There's some areas like that it's always tornado season.
Then we don't go to those areas.
It's like Missouri
Yeah,
and Kansas.
we're talking about Kansas.
I know. Like parts of Arkansas. And it's just like all year.
What's worse, a tornado or the smiling man?
I don't know. At least the smiling man disappears. The tornado could kill you and come back.
Yeah, the smiling man doesn't have any known victims, so there's that.
And I know that I'm not going to do anything that would put me in a position to be with the smiling man.
That's correct.
So it's not really a worry, but I can't stop a tornado. And they're scary.
So yeah, that's our Kansas episode.
Whew.
Tornadoes, unsolved murders, and smiles.
It's solved.
Solved cold case.
Yeah.
There we go.
I didn't like yours.
I had a feeling you wouldn't. As I was writing this, I was like, oh, Kenzie's not going to like this very much.
I didn't mind the hamburger guy. I didn't like the other one.
Yeah, there wasn't much information on the hamburger guy, so I had to add another one. And when I found the smiling man, I was like, oh, yes.
I don't like it.
I know.
And I can picture it so clearly.
Oh my God, I
don't
know.
like
It's so
it.
creepy.
Don't like it.
And you'll see even more pictures. And everyone who follows us on social media will also see all of those pictures.
I don't like it.
So if you do listen to us anywhere, rate and review us, send us a review. We'll send you a sticker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all we got.
That's all I can think of.
So stay scary.
And stay safe.